Maybe just picking up on one of the things you said, right? That what you wanted to deliver was a fundamentally different experience within the context of healthcare, right? And if we switch tracks a little bit, operational excellence, right? Things happening consistently, correctly, all the time is like a critical aspect of this. So I think as we start the session off, it'd be helpful for folks to understand, to you, and especially in the context of healthcare, or even otherwise, with like startups that you're looking at broadly, like what does operational excellence mean to you? And I mean, it's a word that people use a lot. I don't know how many people know what it means. I'm still figuring out what it potentially means. So we're hopeful that you will be able to tell us a little bit more, about what ops excellence means to you, and how would you define it or think about it and why it's important.
Yeah, interesting question. Look, I think it's different for different people, right? The way I mean, what I mean by that is, if you are thinking as a founder, if you are thinking as someone who's managing a team, I think your outlook on what is operational efficiency is different to you thinking as an individual about what operational efficiency is, right? But I think if I had to if I had to generalize, I would kind of put it as something which would lead you to kind of get to a state where there is repeatability, there is sustainability, and there is scalability. I think this is, in my mind, I would kind of summate it into this. And the reason I tell you this is also because, look, ultimately, if we have to deal with a lot of operational aspect, now we may be writing a simple line of code. We may be kind of, looking at managing a number of people who sit and write code. It may be a manufacturing setup. A lot of what we do are always, every single decision is a ripple effect across the entire chain or the value chain of what each one is doing, right? So I think for me, the operational efficiency would talk about saying that whatever each one does, there is a compounding effect to it, right? So which is where I think the repeatability comes in to say that how much of what should I do in such a way that it can actually be, the repeatability is actually more addressable, more accessible, right? It's not random, right? So that's where when you do more of the same thing, you kind of start bringing that sort of efficiency, right? Like from our day-to-day tasks to even doing something at work, to relate to something which is larger. Now, suppose we introduce a new, product line, right? And suddenly you have to bring the production mechanics in such a way that you don't start everything from scratch, but how do you use an existing production line to actually make this new product, right? So all of these goes into this, and honestly, a lot of operating efficiency, a lot of these are borrowed from a manufacturing concept and then interlaid into a service concept, right? So at Cloud9, obviously we were not manufacturing anything. We were in the service side of things, right? So we had to honestly lean on a lot of these principles to kind of bring in aspects to say that how do you become better and better. I'll be honest with you guys again. For the first few years, there was no intent, ability, or even the aspiration to grow beyond one single unit. So what that meant was a lot of operational things that you would see are things which you would kind of just go plug in and sort out immediately, because you are not thinking scale then. You are just thinking immediately put that fire out, right? As a manner of speaking, to say, what do I need to do at this moment to get this done, right? It was only about that. A few years later came the entire ambition to say that, hey, what do we need to do about being able to grow this, right? And that's where the scalability came in to say that, okay, if we have a certain way of doing it and we call it the Cloud9 way, it can go from something as simple as recruitment to the actual service to, how do we greet our customers, to what do we kind of do across the touch points. It can be so many things. We had to go and create playbooks, right?
You have to define
Nobody
all of
told
those things.
us.
You have to
Sorry.
define. You have to define all of those things and define like the standards, right, for quality of what good looks like
Yes.
as
And
per the Cloud9.
yes, especially because we were doing it for the first time. There was nobody to emulate. There was nobody to kind of say, aisa kiya, we can kind of do this. No, you have to go figure out yourself, right? So which meant you are looking at multiple touch points or multiple data points for that information to come through. And a lot of them used to be our own customers, right? So how do you kind of put all of that together, use it in a way that you can actually create something good out of it, which can actually be repeatable, right? It's not just that Rohit would do it, somebody else would do it. It's about how do you kind of demonstrate it in such a way that each one can then, like I said, the ripple effect, that from the vision to actually being able to deliver that outcome, there are so many different people, and especially in healthcare, you'll have like multiple stakeholders in the same process. So how do you bring all of that together, right? I think
Right.
in my mind, I think I would kind of lean on it as, again, submitting as repeatability, scalability, and I don't know what was the other one. I forgot.